What up, peeps? Welcome to today's vlog. We are at the store again. Got Abby and Ryan here. And for the most part, all they've been doing so far is cleaning and testing. Abby's talking to people on Facebook, answering questions and everything. When we first got here, we had a guy come and he picked up the Pink Panther pinball machine. So that is gone. It's going to a place in Hillsboro, Oregon, which it's not too far, maybe, half an hour drive from here, 45 minutes. A place called Next Level Pinball Museum. They have, he said, like 350 machines. And so they picked up the Pink Panther. They're going to completely restore it, get it all working. And then he said once, everything's over and they reopen, we should be able to go in and play it if we want. So that'll be really, really awesome. So this GameCube kiosk I had someone interested in as well. They wanted it, but because I had another person interested, I was pretty firm on the price. And so they decided to pass on it. So I've messaged the second person who, they messaged me about it 5 minutes after the first guy did. So I was like, oh, hey, man, you're second in line. I'm sorry. But I told him today that it's available, so we'll see what comes of that. We also have a few people interested in the Bronco machine here, but no one has confirmed on that one yet. So we are working at the store to try to get as much stuff done as we can, of course. Right after selling the pinball machine, I started working on the new inventory stuff and had screen sharing going on with the developer, getting it all set up. And so we are officially starting our 30-day free trial of it right now. And we're working on getting some inventory imported. To add new trades as they come in is really quick and easy, but it's a little confusing to try to bulk add stuff from our other system over to this new one. I had to basically export I had to manually add one game, export that, which gives me a Microsoft Access file, which I've never even used Access before, but I was able, and it gives me a table, almost like a spreadsheet looking thing. I was able to export that to Excel. So now I'm working in Excel, and basically I had to put in one item and then export it so that I could get the headers, the identifiers. So now I know what stuff goes where. I know where the UPC goes. I know where the cost goes, the price goes. So now what I'm doing is I have exported all of our Sega Dreamcast games from our old system, and I'm importing that to the new one. I decided to start with Dreamcast because it's a pretty small library. I mean, this is the majority of it right here. So it won't be too difficult to get everything done. So we're going to test that out. Once I get everything ready, I'm going to text the developer back, and he's going to double check everything, make sure that it looks good, and then we're going to try to get that imported and see how it works. The only thing is that we don't have our printer yet, and it's kind of integral to the whole process. As soon as you add new items, the labels are supposed to print automatically. Unlike with our old system where we would import a whole spreadsheet, then we have to manually go through and print the labels and put them on. With this new one, as soon as you add something, it prints right away. So we're still learning more things about it, of course. Once we get the whole back end set up and we get new trades coming in, those will be really, really simple to do. You add them into the inventory at the same time that you're checking the person out. And so if someone trades in a stack of stuff and they accept our offer, we hit OK and complete the transaction, and then it will automatically print the labels. And in addition to that, this is a cool feature I didn't tell you guys about the other day. If we get a game in that somebody has on their want list, it'll automatically text them and let them know that we got it, which is super awesome. So it's a really cool piece of software. There's just a lot to learn. It's a little confusing. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's completely user-friendly, at least for what I'm trying to do right now. The sale part of it seems pretty straightforward and easy, but trying to bulk add inventory is not. But we're getting it worked out, so give you guys some updates when we can. I don't know how long we're going to be here today, but we have a lot of stuff to do, so let's keep going. So we moved the glass cases that were here, as you can tell. Now there's a huge open space, and we put them over here. The Bronco is right there. But this is kind of the idea of how they will be. This is probably going to have to move over this way a little bit more, but we have to take all the VHS down before we can do that. So these are in the general area of where they would be. But yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. It gives us way more room. The toy bin, which is right here, obviously goes right here. But yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. And even if we do have to move this down a little bit, which I'm guessing we're going to have to, but probably down to no more than here maximum, but that gives us that much more room between the two cases, and then those two can get moved down, and that'll give us another 1.5 feet, 2 feet maybe of room right over here for more controllers or just whatever else on the flat wall there. And like I said, I've ordered the grid wall to fill out this spot here. It's another entire section like this with another end cap. So that will allow us to, I think, get the rest of the PS2 games out from the back. I don't have the stuff for the top ordered yet, so it's just the bottom. But that's another 5 rows of PS2 just from that. And then once we do add the top, that'll be 2 more. And I'll show you guys what we have left back here, because it's not a ton, but there's enough for quite a few more shelves. So all the games stacked up here, and then all this. And it's a lot of duplicates. That's pretty much all it is. It's just duplicates of games that we already have out there, as you can see. But it would be nice to just have it all out. I know that like we have a million copies of the Final Fantasy games, and typically if you have a ton of copies out like that, people will pass on those games for now, thinking that they can just get them later, which is true, and it's fine. The ones that we have multiple copies of generally are these cheaper type games anyway, so it's not really a big deal. But it would just make everything so much easier for us if all we had to say was every single PS2 game we have is out. Because it's like that for Xbox 360, for the Wii, stuff like that. We have all the games out, aside from glass case duplicates like this. And these don't include any glass case ones. These are the glass case duplicates here for PS2. But just having everything out would be so much easier. It would obviously give us more room back here as well. So I'm hoping that they will all fit once we get the rest of the shelving in there. And I'm sure it will. And it'll probably even give us room to expand even more. Not that we need more PS2 games, but you get the idea. Back home now, guys. We had a very, very long day at the store. There's not much to film there, unfortunately, so I only got those, couple clips that I had. But it's better than nothing, of course. And got a little story to tell you guys at the end of the vlog, but I'm going to reveal to you what we are planning on taking to the store and trying to make fit in that corner. Someone guessed it. I saw one person that guessed it, and it is the Master Chief statue. This guy is life-size. Very, very big, and I think that he's going to fit in that corner with his back to the window, basically. So he will be facing the countertop with his back to the window in the corner. We're going to have to raise him up so that his arms go above the glass case, because if the base comes out to here on the front, his arms stick out to here. So he's going to have to be raised up enough where his arms can be above the glass case for him to actually fit. Even just taking him in there is going to use up a lot of room, unfortunately, but he doesn't really fit in the game room here, and the only other option is to put him in the garage and just wait until we move, and I don't really want to do that. I was hoping that when we first bought him that we'd have room in the store to put him in there, and ended up never happening because we didn't have the room. But with the Pink Panther machine gone now, and hopefully the Bronco one, and also the GameCube kiosk hopefully selling soon, that's going to create a lot of room. But the original plan was to move one of the Neo Geos from the right side of the door to the left side of the door so that people can have more room to check out the Wii games. If we take the Master Chief to the store, unfortunately that cannot happen. But I've been considering bringing one of them home anyway, because there's really no point in having 2 Neo Geos there when we have a multi-cart in one of them already. I can just put the multi-cart in whatever one stays at the store, and one of them can come back home. So that's kind of the plan for that. The Wii games, if you've ever been to the store, in person, the Wii games are a little cramped. They're a little difficult to get to because the cabinet is kind of in the way. So we're still figuring things out, of course, but we're doing our best to move things around, get stuff placed, and I really hope we can make this guy fit at the store because it would just be so cool. So with that, we have a little bit of a story to tell you guys, answer a question here. It's also the title of the vlog. Let's jump into it. So, I mentioned in yesterday's vlog when I was talking about, like, the things that I regret selling, I mentioned that I sold my collection in 2014 and started over. And I feel like I mentioned that pretty often, but every time I do, I have people ask, why did you sell your collection? What happened? Why did you sell it? All this stuff. And usually I will explain it in a comment replying to that person, but it just seems like every time I talk about it, I get multiple comments. So I figured I would kind of just talk about it here at the end of the video, hopefully with the title. Whoever is wondering that will see the video and they'll click on it and watch. So my original collection started it was either late 2007 or early 2008. I don't really know exactly because I started collecting before I started making YouTube videos. And I was in high school when I started getting back into retro games. So I want to say that it was late 2007, but I don't know for sure. Like I said, it was either 2007 or 2008. But I kind of told the story kind of recently, but I'll just recap just to get you guys all up to speed. I was cleaning my bedroom, and underneath my bed, I found a Sega Genesis console. It was a Model 2. There were no cables, no controllers, no games. It was just a console. I honestly have no idea where I even got that because I never had one when I was a kid. My next door neighbor had one, but we didn't. We had the Super Nintendo, PS1, and N64. So I found this Sega Genesis under my bed, and I was like, I could probably sell this. So I looked on Craigslist, and I went to the wanted section, looked for people who were looking for video games, and I found a listing from these people. They owned a pawn shop / game store. It was called Game Junkies. It was in Portland, Oregon. I never went to their physical location. By the time that I was actually able to make it around to other stores, they were closed. So I started selling stuff to them, and I sold them the Genesis and a few other random things that I had. And I was like, and they came in my house and picked everything up. And I was like, man, that was easy. That was easy money. So I knew that you could find video games at Goodwill. So I started going to Goodwill, finding video games. I would buy whatever I could that was worth it, of course. And then I would sell it straight to Game Junkies. And I was doing this for a while. And then I decided to look on YouTube. This would have been same time, either 2007 or 2008, and I found a channel by the name of Green January, who was basically going to Goodwill. He was buying video games, Disney-related items, DVDs, all sorts of like collectible type stuff like that, and he was basically just doing pickup videos. And I thought that was really, really cool. I wanted to do some of my own videos. That's why I started my YouTube channel. But he was basically doing the same thing I was. He was collecting, but he was also buying and selling. So I started buying and selling first and then started collecting afterwards, but it all happened within just a few months of each other. So that's when I started my collection. It was late 2007, 2008. That's when I got into collecting retro video games, and I built up my collection. So I was living in my parents' house still in Vancouver. I built up my collection to a certain point, and I was making my YouTube videos, but I had to borrow my neighbor's camera, which is not ideal. And I thought it would be so awesome if I had my own camera, and I need to get a computer too. So my thought was, I'll sell a portion of my collection to then buy a MacBook because it has the built-in webcam, and I can use that to make my videos. I can edit on it. It'll be great. So I did that. I sold the majority of my collection. I don't know when that was. It was probably 2008, maybe 2009. but I sold the majority of my stuff, bought the computer, and at that time, when I was first collecting, I was collecting whatever I could. I was collecting disc-only games if I got them disc-only. I would print out my own cover art for them and stuff, but I would still have disc-only games. I had cartridge-only stuff. When I sold my collection, I decided to keep the few boxed games that I had because I thought they were really, really cool. And from that point, once I got my computer, I started collecting again, and that's when I decided to go complete only. So it was from then on that I collected complete and boxed stuff, because I just thought that they were so cool. I liked having all the games, but I really enjoyed having the original boxes or packaging with them. So it was at that point that I decided to go complete. So from whenever that was, I built up my collection. I moved to Florida during that time. I went to school down there. I have a bachelor's degree in game art, specializing in environmental and prop design, which, as you guys probably know, I haven't really done much with that degree. But I was down there. I moved to Florida in 2011, September of 2011. And I graduated from school down there in February of 2014. And September of 2014, I had a job offer at Apple. And the job was working on the 3D version of Apple Maps. So not really game related, but it was 3D art related. So it kind of went along with my degree. And it was a contract position, which is basically not a full-time position. You're contracted for a specific amount of time. And then, when the contract's up, they can either try to extend it or renew it, or they can basically let you go. So my friend who I went to school with got a job there. He's the one that got me the interview, and then they offered me the job. And so at this point, when I was in Florida, I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and we had an apartment, and our lease was up January of 2015. And we were not getting along. We were fighting all the time, and I had already made up my mind that I was going to sell my collection starting in August. I was going to sell my collection on eBay, and then when our lease came up in January, I was going to move back to Vancouver. And that was my plan. And just a few weeks later, I got the job offer from Apple. I think I said that kind of weird. But they were basically like, we're offering you this job. Can you get here in a week? And I said, I can't do it that quick. There's no way. And so they gave me 2 weeks, I think it was. So I had already started selling some of my stuff on eBay, but the way that I was doing it was I started with all of the weird stuff first. I was listing the promotional items, and I was listing, the toys and the figures and the weird stuff like that. So I sold quite a few items, but it was random stuff like something like this is what I'd be listing, or the Chrono Cross clock, or whatever it was. I wasn't listing games, consoles, or accessories yet. So by the time I got that job offer, I was like, holy crap, I have 2 weeks to get to California, basically. When my original plan was to leave in January, which was 6 months away. So my timeline to sell my collection went from 6 months down to 2 weeks. And it was crazy. And I was like, this is going to be really difficult. The main reason for selling my collection, obviously, was to get from Florida to California for this job offer. But like I said, I also wasn't enjoying the relationship that I was in, and I didn't necessarily want to be stuck with her in that apartment for another 6 months. So it was kind of a little extra way out, I guess you could say. So I sold my collection, posted it up on the Nintendo Age forums, and I was selling stuff individually. I was getting 1,000 messages from everyone because I was pricing my stuff pretty good. I had to price it good enough to sell quick, because that was the whole point of selling it, was to sell it quick. So, a game that was selling for 120, I might be like, 80 or 90 bucks shipped or something like that. So I was selling a bunch of stuff, but I had put in there, if I can find someone to buy everything, that's what I need to do. Unfortunately, I'm on a time constraint. So had a bunch of people contacting me, trying to buy stuff here and there. one person wanted to buy everything, and I was kind of talking with them a bit. They were very pushy and kind of rude, and like a day into it, someone else contacted me and said, I was supposed to be going in with this guy to buy your collection. We were going to split it 50-50. We were each going to put up half the money. I went and got a cashier's check for my half, and basically the guy cut me out of it, and he is taking it all for himself now. And these guys were apparently friends. And I was like, well, that's not cool. And I was already getting really, really bad vibes from that original guy anyway. So I decided to sell it to someone else who had contacted me after. But either way, I sold the collection on, I want to say it was like a Wednesday or Thursday that I sold it. I think by Saturday or Sunday, I was on a flight back to Portland, back to Vancouver. By Wednesday, I had bought my car. And by Friday, I had driven it from Portland down to San Jose, California, and I started the job on Monday. I was there for the 6 months for the contract, and then they didn't renew with me, so I came back up, moved back in with my parents. I was applying for other positions and stuff, but before I knew it, I was basically doing eBay and Amazon full time. And I love living in Vancouver, so I didn't really want to leave. And as you can imagine, there aren't many game developer positions in Vancouver. So I kind of, made the decision to not really pursue it anymore, which kind of sucks. It was a lot of fun, but it was also a lot of work. If you're gonna be a game developer, you have to make it your entire life. And I always enjoyed buying and selling and collecting, and you guys know now it led to us having the store, which was, in my opinion, the better choice for me. It sucks that I spent a lot of money on this degree that I'm not using, and I'm probably going to be paying my student loans back for the rest of my life, but I'm really happy that I ended up with the store and everything. But that's not what the story is about. The story is about why I sold my collection, and that is the reason. So, I moved back up to Vancouver after living in San Jose. I moved back up in, I think it was early February of 2015, something like that. And then it was only maybe a month and a half later that I met Abby. And I can tell you guys that story at some other time. We've told it plenty of times, so you probably have heard it, but met Abby. I wasn't collecting. I hadn't started to recollect at that point. I was living with my parents and I was buying and selling. I started getting into selling on Amazon at that point because previously I was only selling on eBay. And I started to because I was still getting video game stuff, of course, but I was selling it. And then at some point I decided I already know that I'm going to start collecting again one day, so I'm going to just start putting some stuff aside. So I started doing that, and I was going to the outlet a lot, so I was getting PS2, Xbox, GameCube, Wii, stuff like that. I was getting those games really, really cheap from the outlet, and I didn't really consider it a collection at that time. I was just putting games into a box, putting it on the shelf. It was just a plain cardboard box. I had a bunch of stuff in there. Nothing was cataloged. I didn't even know what was in there. It was just, if I didn't have it, it went in the box. So I guess you could say that's when I started my current collection. That would have been sometime mid 2015, but it was about June, July, or August of 2015 that I really started getting back into collecting and building up the collection that I have now. So everything that I have now, minus a few things that I kept from my previous collection, which I told you guys about yesterday, has been acquired since 2015. And I've been extremely lucky to be able to amass the collection that I have. You know, the amount of games I have, the size of the collection, the promotional items, the kiosks, the signs, all that. It takes a lot of work, and it's rewarding. Like, I missed having a big collection. When I restarted, my collection was, very, very small. Didn't look cool on my shelves because it was, You know, it'd be like 10 N64 games and 5 Super Nintendo games and 3 NES games and 15 PS2 games. And now I'm back to pretty close to where I was when I sold everything before. And as you can imagine, buying everything from 2018 to 2004 or 2008 to 2014, everything was way, way cheaper back then. When I first started getting into collecting, an Earthbound cartridge was like $75 retail, and a complete copy was $300, and Sculptor's Cut was a $40 cartridge, and you know, Super Bowling and Stunt Racer were $12.99, $13.99 games. So things have definitely changed. It's been way more expensive to collect this stuff, but the way that I try to do things, at least this time around, I try not to buy too much stuff off of eBay. I try to find as much stuff in person as I can. I try to focus on a few systems at a time, but at the same time, I'm not trying to track down a specific game, if that makes any sense. I feel like if you're out here and you're like, I want to get Power Stone 2 for the Dreamcast, and I want this game. If you end up looking for this one game, you're probably going to end up paying a high price for it because it's not a cheap game. But if you just go out there and you're like, I'm going to buy whatever's a good deal. If I don't have it, I don't care what system it's for. I don't care what game it is. If it's a good price, I'm going to pick it up. That's typically how I try to collect, because I'm not really looking for a specific game, because whatever I want to play, I probably already have. So I just look for whatever the best deals are, and that makes it easier to collect with a lower budget. If you're just looking for the good deals, you're not going to spend as much money. So that's kind of what I've done, and I'm very happy with where it's at now. But that is a story of how I started collecting, why I sold my collection, and kind of how I started back up and where I'm at now. So guys, that's going to be it for today's vlog. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to smack the like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow.